Everyone, we're just, oh. All right, everyone. I hope you can hear me okay. Welcome to this month's presentation of the Explore the World Live series. Tonight, we are visiting the Netherlands, and we're going to talk about, I'm going to ask you to mute yourself if you can. Somebody there. It's an international horticultural exposition that comes once every year, 10 years, sorry, to the Netherlands. So this is going to be a quick presentation, and it's meant to share with you all that the Netherlands has to offer and inspire you to add the Netherlands to your bucket list if you haven't already been. We're going to give you some background information on the travel rebound and what's happening with the COVID-19 pandemic internationally as it pertains to travel. We're going to have a little bit of trivia and a door prize at the end. So sit back and relax as we explore the Netherlands and Floriade tonight. If you have any questions during the presentation, if you toggle your mouse, you'll see there's a chat box at the bottom of your screen. So feel free to put your questions in there and we will absolutely answer them at the end. So I'm Joanne Saab from Curated Travel, and together with my colleagues, Nicola, Sandy, and Jennifer, we started this Explore the World Live series to just inspire people to travel during the pandemic and to start looking forward to traveling again. I'm going to let everyone introduce themselves. Jen?
Great. Thanks very much, Joanne. Yes, I'm Jennifer McPherson of Turnkey Travel, and we've been doing this as a nice experiment during COVID. And I've been in travel for about 5 years and traveled quite extensively, but have not been to the Netherlands. So looking forward to that. And one of my favorite treats is one of those little stroopwafels, though.
Nicola.
Yes, good evening or guten Abend. My name is Nicola Ratte and I'm with Travel Only. I've been a travel consultant for over 14 years, and the last time I was in Amsterdam was in the summer of 2019, and I really enjoyed the city and my visits to Edam and Saint-Sergens, including the Cut, the only remaining working windmill producing paint. Sandy.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sandy Lang of Lang Travel. I've been in the travel industry for just over 24 years, and I still love it. I have not yet been to the Netherlands, except I absolutely love one of their favorite foods, which you'll find out later.
Okay. Looking forward.
So now I would just like to give you a quick update on travel rebound and what's happening around the world. There is increasing cautious optimism about international travel restarting this summer, and the world is certainly starting to reopen. The European Union has approved a vaccine passport for all of their 27 member companies, as well as an agreement to ease travel restrictions for non-EU visitors with proof of complete vaccination, which is 14 days after your second vaccine shot. Spain is welcoming guests as of June the 7th, and Greece has now opened their borders again. Updates are changing daily, so we'll try and keep you posted. River cruises are also restarting this summer. Alma Waterways is beginning on July the 3rd in Portugal, and Uniworld is beginning in Italy on June the 18th. Both G Adventures and Go Way Travel are offering private small group bubble trips. So you can travel with as few as 8 people in a private group travel. If you are traveling outside of Canada, current restrictions are that current restrictions are that all Canadian passengers over the age of 5 must provide a negative COVID, either PCR or LAMP test, taken within 72 hours of boarding their flight back to Canada, as well as the current quarantine requirements. Always check canada.gc.ca for up-to-date entry requirements, as well as re-entry into Canada. Cruising. Yesterday, President Biden signed off on a new tourism act allowing cruise ships to resume Alaska trips this summer without stopping at a Canadian port. Canada had banned all cruise ships stopping at Canadian ports until 2022. Several cruise lines, Norwegian, Princess, and Holland America have already started rebooking passengers into Alaska. Over the last month, cruise ports from California to Florida have started to vaccinate their ship crew and have committed to have 100% of their staff vaccinated by the time of sailing. As far as Canada travel goes, before you plan any travel this summer outside of your home province, please check canada.gc.ca COVID-19 travel, quarantine, and borders page for up-to-date interprovincial travel requirements. Some provinces currently are not encouraging outside of province visitors. Manitoba, Nova Scotia, BC, even driving through a province, you may not be able to stop except for gas. Currently, Nova Scotia is restricting entry only to essential travel. If you're not a current resident, you have to apply to the Nova Scotia government for entry and wait for approval. The Canadian government has extended the quarantine, COVID testing requirements, and border closures until June 21st of this year. A current poll by Global News found 72% of Canadians support the idea of a vaccine passport, with 67% supporting the same idea for indoor concerts, museums, and theaters. All that being said, there has never been a better time to book fall and winter travel. Most of the tour operators are offering very generous change and cancellation policies, early booking bonuses, some have very low deposit requirements, and extended final payment terms. Always know the entry requirements for the country that you want to visit, and always have your passport up to date. And that's your travel update. And now over to, who am I passing it to?
Jennifer.
Jennifer.
Yes. All right. Thanks very much, Sandy. That's great. We can't wait to get back to all of the great travels out there, and I know it is coming. So before we do learn more a little bit about the Netherlands, I do want to have a couple of fun trivia questions with you. So we're going to see the polls that will be launching on your screen here, and you will have a chance to answer. So first of all, let's see your knowledge of what percentage of the world's flower bulbs do you think come from the Netherlands? Did they export? And you can click on the button there on whatever you think your answer, and I'll give you a couple of seconds to do that. Very good. All right, coming in. Ooh, neck and neck here almost. Okay, final answers. Good. All right. So you should see there that yes, in fact, that 80% of the world's flower bulbs do come from the Netherlands. They're the highest producer, and that's not a surprise, as they are the ones that really started it all. And they do account for 50% of the world's cut flowers as well. And that's almost a 7 billion euro industry for them. So that's huge. All right, and then you can just click on your close button there. And we're going to have one more question for the food. All right. Oh, that's all right, trying to switch over to the food one. There we go. Okay, so now the second one is, which food there do you think that the Dutch eat the most of from the world population? So per capita, is it chocolate, licorice, Gouda cheese, or spinach? Interesting. We're having all right, some good answering here. We're almost tied. All right, so final seconds. Excellent. And I'll show you the results there. So most of you chose Gouda, which is a good choice, but it's actually licorice, everybody. Yes, their consumption is almost 4 pounds per person per year, and they like to call it drop. And it is actually their favorite to treat over there. So as Sandy mentioned earlier, I guess that's one of her favorite treats as well. So you can press the little close button there, blue button at the bottom, and we're going to learn more now about the Netherlands. Thanks very much, and over to you, Joe.
All right, thanks, Jen. All right, so the Netherlands, as you all know, is often incorrectly referred to as Holland, and it's one of the most vibrant and interesting countries in Europe. So it's primarily known for its eclectic capital of Amsterdam, but the Netherlands is far more than just the canals and the museums. And if you venture further afield, you'll find picture postcard towns, as well as dynamic cities like Rotterdam and The Hague. So due to its relatively small size, it's easy to cover a lot of the Netherlands in a short amount of time. And you can see lots of the highlights. You can visit traditional villages filled with those iconic windmills and the tulips. And you can also see a ton by bicycle. It's nice and flat and easy to get around for people of all different fitness levels. I have this little video I'm going to share with you. It's the difference between Holland and the Netherlands and a whole lot more. It's a 2-minute video. It explains it more eloquently than I can in a shorter amount of time. So hopefully this will load and we won't have any issues, and bear with me. Cool. I think this is going to be fussy. There we go.
Welcome to the great nation of Holland, where the tulips grow, the windmills turn, the breakfast is chocolatey, the people industrious, and the sea tries to drown it all. Except this country isn't Holland. It's time for the difference between Holland, the Netherlands, and a whole lot more. The correct name for this tulip-growing, windmill-building, hagelslag-eating, container ship-moving, ocean-conquering nation is the Netherlands. But confusion is understandable. The general region has been renamed a lot over 1,000 years, including as the Dutch Republic, the United States of Belgium, and the Kingdom of Holland. But it's not just history that makes this country's name confusing, because the Netherlands is divided into 12 provinces. Groningen, Drenthe, Overijssel, Gelderland, Limburg, Noord-Brabant, Zeeland, which, by the way, is the Zeeland that makes this Zeeland new, Friesland with adorable little hearts on its flags, Flevoland, Utrecht, and here's the confusion, North Holland, and Zuid-South Holland. These provinces make calling the Netherlands Holland like calling the United States Dakota. Though unlike the Dakotas, which are mostly empty, save for the occasional jackalope, the two Hollands are the most populated provinces and have some of the biggest attractions like Amsterdam and Kochenhof. Chances are, if it's Dutch and you've heard of it, it's in one of the Hollands. Even the government's travel website for the country is holland.com, officially because it sounds friendlier, but unofficially, it's probably what people are actually searching for. Confusion continues because people who live in the Hollands are called Hollanders, but all citizens of the Netherlands are called Dutch, as is their language. But in Dutch, they say, Nederlands spreken de Nederlanders in Nederland, which sounds like they'd rather we call them Netherlanders speaking Netherlandish. Meanwhile, next door in Germany, they're Deutsche sprechen Deutsch in Deutschland, which sounds like they'd rather be called Dutch. This linguistic confusion is why Americans call the Pennsylvania Dutch Dutch, even though they're Germans. To review, this country is the Netherlands, its people are Dutch, and they speak Dutch. There is no country called Holland, but there are provinces of North and South Holland. Got it? Great, because it's about to get more complicated.
Okay, we won't go into how much more complicated it gets, but that's it in a nutshell. All right, so to recap, this is the map of the entire Netherlands, all 12 provinces. And as the video said, most of the main attractions are indeed found in North Holland, where Amsterdam is located, and South Holland, where you'll find The Hague. So what's to do if you go to the Netherlands? So obviously you want to explore the canals. So similar to other cities that sit on the water like Venice, Amsterdam has a vibrant canal system. So these pretty waterways that make these perfect social media posts are one of the best loved attractions in the Amsterdam. And you can explore the routes by taking a boat tour or a water taxi that lets you hop off on and off at a variety of locations. So like in Toronto and New York, we have hop on, hop off boats. In Amsterdam, they have a hop on, hop off bus or boat. But, you know, anyways, you get what I'm saying. I got it mixed up. And if you don't want to take the water, you can certainly enjoy this canals by walking up and down the alleyways. You just need to be careful that you don't get run over by one of the thousands of bikes. I'm really having trouble with my mouse tonight. Okay, and then the museums. So there are 3 big museums in Amsterdam. On the left-hand side, you'll see a picture of Van Gogh. So the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam is an ode to one of the greatest artists to ever lived. And the Van Gogh Museum is actually regularly voted one of the best art museums in the world. So if you are an art lover, it's a sure not to be missed off your itinerary. Pre-COVID, they get 1.5 million visitors every year, and the museum has the largest collection of Van Gogh pieces in the world. They have 200 paintings, 500 drawings, and there are 700 personal letters that give a really unique insight into the life of the artist. On the right-hand side, you'll see the Anne Frank Museum. So this is one of the most famous attractions in Amsterdam, and it makes for an extremely moving visit. If it is on your to-do list while you're in Amsterdam, you need to make sure you pre-book tickets, as it's small space and they do sell out every day, so pre-plan. The building is the former home of Anne Frank, who famously hid from the Nazis during the Second World War. And the home has been restored to accommodate the museum, but the hiding place where the family would have hidden is much as it would have been during World War II. So it's really not to be missed if you do go to Amsterdam, and it really offers a poignant and personal view on the well-known story. And finally is the Reek Museum. So this is the Dutch National Museum. It's also located in Amsterdam, and it has an amazing collection of art. There's over 7 million pieces of art in 250 different rooms. So you can really spend all day exploring this museum. On the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see the library. It has over 35,000 old books, but they also have traditional Dutch artifacts, handicrafts, and different sculptures from the medieval period. There's tons to explore. Next is the Heineken experience. So if you are in Amsterdam, Heineken was founded in Amsterdam by Gerhard Heineken, who was 22 years old in 1864. And the Heineken experience is the place to come if you want to learn all about how the famous beer evolved. So it takes place in an old Heineken brewery, and then you can learn about the Heineken family and look and see at the actual brewing process that's used to make the beer. So they start with the kind of water that they use and go through the bottling process, and they show classic examples of how the iconic Heineken logo evolved over the years. And then, of course, it finishes in the tasting room where you get to sample some of the famous brew, and you can also purchase some to take with you. Next is Zandschans, which I am going to slaughter the way it's said, not like Nicola, who got it right the first time. This is for those people who want to travel back in time. It's like Pioneer Village of Europe, except a lot older. So this is a traditional village from the 17th and 18th centuries. And it's about 15 kilometers north of Amsterdam, and it's styled as an open air museum. So you can take a stroll around the traditional Dutch village and see how the ancient craftsmen would have worked. They have a shipyard, and there's a grocery store, a pewter factory, and they have all these dainty little wooden houses that you can go and explore. They also have some of the graceful windmills. There would have been 600 of these windmills when the village was at its peak, but there are 5 of them remaining that can be visited by the public. There's also a sawmill, an oil mill, and they do different demonstrations like clog making sessions. So it's kind of fun and something different. Another place to see the windmills in the Netherlands is a scenic location along the River Nord. This is the Kinderdijk. And it is a town which means Children's Dyke in Dutch, and it's nestled between Rotterdam and the city of Dordrecht. And this is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So these windmills date back to the 18th century. There are 19 of them left. The earliest one was built in 1722. And this is the largest group of windmills that remain in the Netherlands. So you can visit anytime between April and October. And at certain times of the year, there are designated times when the windmills are actually running and you can see them in all of their glory. And of course, no visit to the Netherlands is complete without a visit to Kochenhof Garden. So Kochenhof is known as the Garden of Europe, and it is literally a riot of color of blooms from every single hue as far as the eye can see. Tulips are obviously the signature flower. The garden itself is found just outside of Lis, and it is the largest public garden anywhere in the world. It covers over 70 acres of land. They have gorgeous flower exhibitions, a restaurant, and you can see daffodils, hyacinth, crocus, not just the tulips. Of course, the best time of year to visit is when the tulips are in bloom. It's also the busiest time, which is throughout April and into early May. And this slide is not necessarily a place to visit, but what to eat. If you're going to travel to a new destination, you also want to try all their foods. So in the top left corner, we have the cheese. So if you're in the Netherlands and in Amsterdam, there are cheese shops everywhere. You can try cheese from the farmer's market. There are cheese museums. They're certainly known for their Gouda, but there's also the town of Gouda itself and the town of Edam, which is known for its round circular cheese, something different. And then we already talked about the famous drop or licorice that the Dutch are known for. So it comes in all these pretty different colors and shapes and sizes. So also not to be missed. In the bottom left-hand corner, we have the hagelslag, which is a Dutch delicacy for breakfast. It's buttered bread with chocolate sprinkles, so must try. And then in the middle there is my favorite, that's the stroopwafel, which is a pastry that's filled with caramel. We do have them here in the Canadian grocery stores, but they are not the same. If you have them in the Netherlands, they are soft and fresh and delicious, and they go amazing with a cappuccino or a coffee. And finally, there's croquettes. So croquettes are meat-filled balls that are covered in breadcrumbs and then deep fried or fried until they're golden brown. They're delicious. And I couldn't find a picture of bitterballen, but that's the Dutch donuts, also delicious. So there's lots. It's obviously on the water, so there's lots of fish and seafood. That does not make a pretty postcard picture for my for our talk tonight, but lots of seafood as well. All right, and then in 2022 is Floriade Expo. So this is going to be held in the town of Almere, which is 30 minutes outside of Amsterdam. It's going to run from April through October, and it is the largest public event in the Netherlands, and it happens every 10 years. It is considered the world's fair of horticultural shows. So if you are into flowers or horticulture, this really is a cool exposition. There are 40 countries that participate, and they have their own exhibitions, presentations. And then there's going to be a huge greenhouse. You can see on the bottom right hand, a cable car that's going to run over the floor of the park, pavilions with sustainable innovations, as well as an art and cultural program. I was really hoping that there would be a video I could share with you, but that they're actually building the exhibition. So you're seeing just the artistic impressions of what's coming in 2022. The theme of 2022 is a celebration of green and sustainable technologies for food and energy and health, as well as obviously horticulture. And they're building 2 live green bridges. You can sort of see them in the bottom left-hand screen. So those bridges that connect the show to the mainland will be completely green and made covered in different kinds of flora and fauna. So if you are to visit the Netherlands, there's lots of different ways to see it. So I've just shown some different itinerary options if you were to travel to the Netherlands. So in the top or the right-hand side of the screen, this is a traditional bike barge tour. These are really popular and sort of unique to the Netherlands. This one goes from Amsterdam to Antwerp, Belgium. It's a 7 to 10 day, I can't remember exactly, tour, but basically the blue dotted lines are the barge. So the boat travels along either while you sleep or during the day. And then during the day, everyone gets off and they ride their bikes along the white dotted lines. And you go from town to town, eating the food, seeing the sights, and then you get back on the barge for nighttime and it moves or floats along as you move along. So kind of something different. In the bottom left-hand screen, this is a traditional Rhine river cruise. This itinerary happens to be from Alma Waterways. So they go from Amsterdam to Basel, Switzerland along the Rhine River. So there's all these castles along the way. It stops in the German towns or cities of Cologne and Rudesheim and Heidelberg, and then through the Strasbourg or the Alsace region of France, visiting Strasbourg and Reek. So Reek is a town that was completely untouched during the First and Second World Wars, and it was Disney's inspiration for the town that Belle lived in during Beauty and the Beast. So it's a really kind of cute place to stop. And then it finishes in Basel, which is about 40 minutes outside of Zurich. And so you can do them in either direction and add pre and post days in Switzerland and the Netherlands. And of course, in 2022, if you wanted to, you could add a day at the Floriade Expo. And then finally at the top, this is a bus tour. So it's a 10-day bus tour through Colette Vacations, which is Canadian based. It starts in Amsterdam, does 3 dates in Amsterdam. It has a day built in to see the Floriade Expo, stops in the town of Gouda and the Kinderdijk, and then does 2 nights in Bruges in Belgium, stopping in Brussels. And then this is my favorite part of this tour. It does 2 nights in the Champagne Valley in France, visiting Reims and Epernay, and you can visit the famous champagne houses like the Clicquot and some of the others. And then finally, it spends 3 nights in the City of Lights or Paris, and you can fly home back to Canada or the US from Paris, or you can take the high-speed channel or the Eurostar to London, do 3 more nights, and then fly home from there. So lots to see and lots to do. So that wraps up the majority of our presentation this evening. I really hope that you enjoyed it and that you had gotten a taste of what the Netherlands has to offer. We're going to do a draw prize, and I'm going to pass things over to Nicola.
Okay, thank you, Joanne. Great presentation. Jen, can you just give me a number between 1 and 25?
18.
18. Okay, Susan B, you are the winner of a $25 Starbucks gift card, and I think it's Sandy who is your consultant, so she will get in touch with you. Okay, so now on, congratulations, and now on to next month. Next month, we will be talking about an island located in the North Atlantic Ocean, also known as the Island of Fire and Ice. Iceland is about the size of Portugal or Virginia and is the most sparsely populated country in Europe. We also have Kensington Tours joining us to tell us more about Iceland and their private and small tours. I also wanted to remind everybody that we do have a YouTube channel, Explore the World, where if you missed any of these webinars, you can watch them there. We also have started to interview suppliers. So right now, Kensington is on there, and Celebrity Cruises, and we are going to load more as soon as we have the interviews finished. So there are some interesting ones lined up still with Princess and Colette and all those. So once again, I hope you enjoyed the presentation. And so thank you, dankjewel, and tot ziens. And back to Jennifer.
Great. Thanks very much, Nick. So you may see either along the bottom of your screen or on the side, if you're on an iPad, that there's a few icons if you put your mouse over, and there's a chat button there. And we welcome any questions that you might have about the Netherlands or Floriade or travel in general, if there is something that you want to ask us. And we will stay online and answer any of those questions. And then we can review them either with you afterwards, and we'll answer all the general ones first. We did have a couple in there from before that I'll just answer those while you might want to type anything in. And one of them was back to the best time of year to visit the Netherlands. And as Joanne said, that really that kind of April to October is a big time. Obviously, the summer months are the busiest, so that might also be when you might not want to go and avoid the crowds and go into the springtime for the tulips, or the fall when the crowds are a little bit less, but the weather is still nice, simply because it doesn't get super cold in the Netherlands any time of year. So you can really visit it all year round. So that's great. We've got another one coming up that the Floriade, is it annual? No, it's actually only once in a decade. So it's once every 10 years. And next year will be 2022. And then from there, we'll have to wait another 10 years. So unfortunately, we have our small window for Floriade, and then we will have to wait and another 10 years before I can visit again. So that's a great question. Someone else had also asked earlier about the accessibility, particularly around Amsterdam, if you had some mobility issues, whether it is a walker or wheelchair. And it actually is very open. There is a lot of walking, but the bridges and the canal streets and stuff are very open. And of course, the museums are fully accessible. So you can get around, and most transportation will allow you on. And even the little barges, canal barges, a lot of them do have accessibility. It's just sometimes with the wheelchairs, you might have to wait to get onto the barges. But if you have any more questions about Amsterdam per se, we can stay on and answer those. And I welcome any of your input. We all do, about different places that you're looking forward to revisiting once it opens again. And we always have webinars between our suppliers and Travel Only, our host agency, and other upcoming ones we have. The one Alma Waterways tour that Joanne pointed out, we'll be having a webinar on that next Wednesday on June 2nd as well. So you can ask your travel advisor about that upcoming webinar for a 2023 visit to see the tulips and to do that Rhine cruise. All right. Oh, and someone's just asking a little bit more about what Floriade is. Yes. Is it like a large Canada Blooms? And that is a close example of it. It is the International Botanical Expo. So you do have a mix of what would be, flower-based types of greenery, as well as going out and beyond into technologies and everything to do with anything botanical and green. So it's a 6-month-long expo. It's not just a weekend or a week. And they build this, and it's literally a half-year festival that you can go. So once the website has a little bit more detail on the itinerary, we're happy to send that around to all the participants tonight to give a little bit more detail on what the agenda is going to hold.
And
All right.
I also wanted to mention that a lot of the suppliers that are in the Netherlands or start or end there include a lot of the Floriade tickets and events. So
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. That's true. And another question's just come in, just asking about the red light district in Amsterdam. And yes, as much as it was once a very prominent spot, perhaps to visit, or to just a novelty place to visit, some of that it has worn off. It is still there, but I think our cultural shift has made it maybe not as politically correct to go and oogle the women there, but yes, it is still there. And cannabis, which a lot of rules have relaxed around the world. We're an example right here in Canada, of course, where it's relaxed, that now we don't have to worry so much about trying to do that where it's illegal. Although it is anything more than 5 grams, and producing cannabis over in Netherlands is still illegal. So it's not, that's a full, full party over there. All right, so great. Thanks very much, everyone. We'll be posting this around on YouTube. And if you have any other comments, please, we're always happy to hear that. So thanks very much again for joining. And we look forward to seeing you on the next one when we discover Iceland.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, everyone. Good night.
Yeah.
Bye.